worst era of Nickelodeon.
Nickelodeon has been loved by all ages for decades. Since releasing the first 3 Nicktoons in the early 90s, Nickelodeon has become known as a predominantly cartoon channel. The 90s are revered as the golden age of cartoons, then the 2000s being a noteworthy successor that definitely started to falter as time went on. The next era being the 2000s.
Fanboy and Chum Chum was a slept-on show, bro. I don't care what nobody see. If you actually took your time and watched that show, it was pretty good.
10s is arguably the worst era, and I am here to tell you why. But first, a little bit of backstory. In the early 90s, they introduced Doug, Rugrats, and the...
Hey Arnold? Ain't what Hey Arnold that? I ain't gonna lie, I didn't watch Doug or Ren and Stimpy. I watched a little bit of Rugrats though.
Ren and Stimpy show. These
and I ain't
three
really
would
like
become
it, I
the
ain't
first
gonna lie.
Nicktoons. They proved to be very popular, thus Nickelodeon choosing a cartoon-oriented path. Rocko's Modern Life, Cat Dog, Angry Beavers, Our Real Monsters, Hey Arnold, and the Wild Thornberrys.
Bro, I'm not gonna lie, Hey Arnold is one of the best shows Nickelodeon ever made, bro. Do your homework on Hey Arnold, bro. If you never watched that show, go watch it, bro. It teaches so many good life lessons, no cap.
Follow. All of these cartoons were very successful and still remain icons today. They were original and wacky, and had humor that hadn't been seen in cartoons before. These cartoons made up the 90s, and is now known as the golden...
I'm not gonna lie, if you compare this lineup to the lineup Disney Channel had back then, it looked like Nickelodeon wasn't competing with Disney Channel at all, bro. Like, Disney Channel had my childhood in a chokehold when I was a kid. Like, that's crazy.
Era. The next era was the SpongeBob era.
Okay, and this one Nickelodeon started upping his game, I think.
SpongeBob was and still is their cash cow. So, a lot of their focus went to SpongeBob. The entirety of the 2000s was plastered with the yellow square. Even with SpongeBob's success,
SpongeBob is the most iconic show.
That came out around this time.
They still be dragging SpongeBob out to this day.
Parents, Jimmy Neutron.
Ooh, see, this when they started picking up, bro. Fairly Odd Parents, SpongeBob, Jimmy Neutron, that's all bangers.
Danny Phantom.
Ooh, Danny Phantom. Danny Phantom was a banger too. That was my favorite show until I started watching Fairly Odd Parents.
As a Teenage Robot, Avatar, and Chalk Zone. The first half of the 2000s...
I ain't gonna lie, Avatar cool too. But I watched the whole Avatar, but I watched it out of order, so I ain't really, pick up on the storyline for real. But one day I'm gonna rewatch it.
Basically a sequel to the 90s. Original cartoons, unique concepts and adventures, and very enjoyable to watch. The second half of the 2000s is where the decline began, but had not fully hit rock bottom. The shows they were making didn't necessarily drop in quality, but a lack in promotion and opportunity led them to fail. These shows were for the most part overshadowed by their more successful cousins like SpongeBob and Fairly Odd Parents. These shows were Tack and the Power of Juju,
Dang, I remember that. Dang, I remember this too.
Gray, The Mighty Bee.
I watched all of them a little bit.
Cat Scratch, The X's, and Back at the Barnyard.
Back at the Barnyard, that was actually a good show too, I ain't gonna lie. It was funny.
Nickelodeon didn't really seem to give
LT Gray was good too. I watched that a
really
lot.
only promoted the big shows that they knew would perform well. In the last year of the 2000s, a show would be released that I think truly begins the descent into the worst era.
Bro, stop playing, bro. Fanboy and Chum Chum was not that bad, bro. I feel like people just say what they hear other people say. I used to think Fanboy and Chum Chum was trash too until I actually started watching it one night, bro. That show was actually kind of funny.
Fanboy and Chum Chum. I know this dead horse has been beaten so much it's just pulp now.
Yeah, y'all just saying what y'all hear other people say.
Like, and that's not what I'm here to do. I'm simply bringing up the point that this show relied heavily on poop humor. I'm not criticizing it, but it does set in motion a domino effect of terrible humor. I am now going to give an overview of all the Nicktoons during this decade.
I never peeped that they wore their underpants on top of their costume. That's crazy.
Different Nicktoons premiered in this decade, compared to 11 in the 90s and 17 in the 2000s. For the sake of the argument, I'm going to only go over actual Nicktoons, not every single animated show that aired this decade. So, for shows like Rabbids Invasion, that most certainly
that
helps
show is
my
trash,
argument,
bro. Even the game they made for this show is trash.
Not be talked about, as it is not categorized as a Nicktoon. The first new Nicktoon of the decade was Planet Sheen, a super unnecessary spin-off to Jimmy Neutron. This spin-off was not well liked. Making
I remember
side
this
characters
too.
the main characters
Never
is
watched
usually a poor decision.
But I remember
unless
them
you're
talking about it.
Sheen became overly annoying. The plots were too bizarre in a bad way, and visually.
So let me get this straight. They tried to make a Sheen spinoff from Jimmy Neutron and it failed horribly. and then they proceeded to try to do the same thing with SpongeBob with Patrick Star. Why did they think that was gonna work?
The show wasn't the best thing Nick had to offer. Going back to the humor, it was definitely different. It wasn't like Jimmy Neutron. It was reminiscent of Fanboy and Chum Chum. The ratings gave validity to these claims, and Nickelodeon canceled the show after one season.
2.9
the next
out of
Nicktoon was Tough
I
Puppy.
bit my tongue.
Being
2.9
that it was
out of 10
created
is
by Butch
horrible.
Hartman, the same guy that
Ooh,
did
Tough Puppy. I low-key watched this show a little bit too. Dang, I watched a little bit of most of these shows. I didn't even realize how much I used to watch Nickelodeon back in the day.
And Danny Phantom. It couldn't have been all bad.
I ain't really like
well,
Tough Puppy though.
But you could definitely
it was cool,
tell
though.
the show
It wasn't horrible,
soul.
but
I don't know how else to describe it.
It
than
wasn't
that.
definitely not
I
one
get
of
that
my
I'm here
favorites.
to articulate my point with words, but this show feels like you took Fairly Odd Parents, drained the soul from it, and slapped on a spy theme. The next two shows are Winx Club and The Legend of Korra. They do not fit into the category of terrible. They are the very few diamonds in the rough of this decade.
I wonder what he's going to say about Sanjay and Craig, because I'm not going to lie, that's my second favorite Nickelodeon show of all time, behind Hey Arnold.
Button Monster is the next show, and it just brings more of the same.
Actually, no, it's not. I'm tripping. It's Hey Arnold, the Fairly Odd Parents, the Danny Phantom, and then Sanjay and Craig, I think. Yeah.
The show feels very empty, content-wise
and then Fanboy
and
and Chum
visually.
Chum, probably.
The humor this time isn't so much farting, but beating each other up and name-calling. There's nothing wrong with that humor, as it's probably the most common type of humor. But to have every joke based on it gets boring very fast. The 2012 TMNT is an all-around fine show.
I forgot about this show. Put this one at number... What would I put Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles? It's probably number 4 on my list. So we go Hey Arnold, Fairly Odd Parents, Danny Phantom, Ninja Turtles, and then Sanjay and Craig. Yeah, that's valid. That's valid.
It gets the job done. I don't have any strong opinions on it. Sanjay and Craig are guilty of being one of the worst on the network. I could make the argument that it is worse than Fanboy and Chum Chum.
Alright, buddy. Now you're just yapping, bro. Bro, he's just yapping. This was a good show. Like, where is he getting his information from?
It's probably not, but it's very close. It relies only on fart humor. It's like you took the worst quality out of all the popular shows at the time and put it into one to make this show. It is just another show where a human and a non-human best friend duo go on really wacky adventures. Another thing this show has in common with all of the others that come after it...
A human and a non-human going wacky adventures? That sounds like a plot to a good cartoon, if you ask me.
...is its hyperactivity. Fanboy and Chum Chum had it along with Tough Puppy, but it is right in your face with this show. Surely, this show is as bad as it gets.
I mean, is a cartoon not supposed to be right in your face and over the top? That's literally how you keep children entertained. Like, what are you talking about right now? We're not making a documentary about somebody. We're making a cartoon for little kids. Of course it's going to be over the top. Like, his points for saying it was trash wasn't even valid. He couldn't give us one good reason on why it was not a good show.
Nickelodeon really said... Let's take Sanjay.
The breadwinners. I neither liked or disliked this show. This show is just like straight in the middle. Like, I don't know. I don't really know how I feel about this show.
And make it 100 times worse. This show is complete brain rot humor, if you can even call it humor. There are no real stories for episodes, just recycled junk you have seen before. Annoying characters. So much stuff to do with butts. It is absolutely unreal how this was created, and then continued to be created. Look on the bright side. Breadwinners is the worst this decade gets. Harvey Beaks was a breath of fresh air. And then Pig, Goat, Banana, and Cricket released, and you were right back into the mud. More hyperactive, over-exaggerated animation slop.
Yeah, buddy, you don't need to write any plots for any cartoon because you will not grasp the children's attention span at all, especially in today's world. You literally have to be over the top, especially with like TikTok and stuff, ruining the attention span, bro. You have to keep their attention. You have to be over the top. Like, what are you talking about?
The Loud House is next, and as it is still running to this day, it has proven to be a much better show than the others, even though I would argue the fart jokes and hyperactivity is definitely still present. Bunsen is a Beast, the fourth show by Butch Hartman, proved that it was more of what this decade has churned out. Yet again, a buddy duo where one is non-human and they go on way too wacky of adventures. Welcome to Wayne. It seems better than most. I can't give any personal anecdote as I've never seen this one. Online, the most common criticism is that it is a Gravity Falls ripoff. 2 days after
I ain't gonna lie, it do kind of give me Gravity Falls vibes.
Welcome to Wayne aired, Fairly Odd Parents was canceled. This now left SpongeBob and, well, nothing else really. At this point,
Fairly Odd Parents got canceled? I thought it was still going. Didn't he add a new character or something? I'm not gonna lie, when they made Timmy share Cosmo and Wanda with that girl, that's when I completely stopped watching the show. So I really don't know if it got canceled or not. But I guess it did, apparently. Because the ratings probably dropped horribly when they did that. I don't know why they thought that was a smart idea.
No show besides SpongeBob had been airing for longer than a year or so, and their cash cow SpongeBob was getting
that episode right there
that's
so weird to me.
Hang on. Let me talk about that in a second.
Like, look at this.
Let's finish off this
That's
decade.
so weird.
There are 4 Nicktoons left of the decade. Only one of them
I ain't gonna lie, Henry Danger must be a good show because they made an animated version of that show and I think they made a comic book about it. I watched a little bit of it, but I haven't watched enough to see whether or not I think it's a good show.
Falls into the hyperactive poop humor category. The other 3 are reboots or spin-offs. This is the exact trend repeating itself. Let me explain. At the end of the 2000s, Fanboy and Chum Chum introduced the poop humor, and it continued all throughout the decade.
Man, put a shrimp on
now these 3 shows, The Adventures of Kid Danger, Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and The Casa Grandes are all spin-offs and reboots. Now look at the 2020s so far. Almost 70% of the shows in the decade.
I'm not gonna lie, the worst era of Nickelodeon is probably the current one we are in, bro. Look at this. They literally just making spin-offs of their best shows and they ruining the legacy of the show. This has to be the worst era.
Decade thus far are spin-offs, reboots, and licensed shows. It seems as if at the end of the decade,
like, look at this. This is not a good show. I can tell from this 20-second video I'm seeing of it.
Okay, now the decline of
that
SpongeBob.
sound effect, bro.
It's been talked about endlessly.
He could have chose the sailor sound for that. He could have been like, Why did he choose SpongeBob crying in the background?
Say it got bad after the first movie. Whatever. I'm not here to dispute anything. I'm here to say at this point SpongeBob was arguably just bad. Look up the worst episodes of SpongeBob. No, I'll do it for you.
Yeah, I ain't like that episode right there at all.
The consensus is that A Pal for Gary is the worst.
Yeah, that is the worst episode. I hated this episode.
Gary. They literally rewrite SpongeBob to be dumber than usual to make the story work. Another terrible episode is One Course Meal, the episode where Mr. Krabs tortures and abuses Plankton, which is pretty out of character for Mr. Krabs. What's my point with this? These episodes came out in 2010. Most of the worst episodes came out in this decade. So not only were their new shows bad,
I need to rewatch this episode. I don't really remember it. Is that the episode when Plankton found out whales eat Plankton or something like that?
29 live-action shows premiered in this decade, but that's not all.
The Thundermans? I don't know, bro. I ain't really like this show for real. But I ain't watching enough to say that.
3. That's a lot of shows.
iCarly, True Jackson VP, Big Time Rush, Victorious, Sam and Cat, The Honey Hathaways, The Thundermans, Henry Danger, Game Shakers, School of Rock. Yeah, that's all the ones I watched from this list. What's the name of that show where it was about 2 kings? It was a black dude and a white dude, and they was kings or something. What was the name of that show? I know somebody gonna know in the comments. Let me know. It was 2 dudes, black and a white dude. It was kings. That's all I remember from it.
Some of them aren't that bad. I mean, they're sitcoms with children lead actors. They can't be that good either. But some of them are especially.
I hated Fred, bro, especially in iCarly, bro.
Fred the show. I can't.
So I didn't even watch this show.
Shows because I have.
This man was so annoying to me.
I only watched cartoons growing up, but all you need to do is look at the numbers. 33 shows running in a span of 10 years. It has to get watered down. It has to. I know the animation studio is probably completely separate from the live-action studio, with completely different budgets and everything. But I really wish more effort would have been spent on the cartoon side rather than
I haven't seen a whoopee cushion in so long, bro.
You can clearly tell where Nickelodeon's focus went into this decade.
Times really
and I believe
changed a lot.
this is a small contributing factor as to why the cartoons were so bad.
Bro, he really mad about this poop humor, right? That must have disturbed him as a child or something, because why is he so mad? Like, as a child, making poop jokes, that seemed like a valid thing to entertain children. Like, why he so mad about it?
Why did they cling to this type of humor? What made them think it was successful and funny?
It was funny, dude.
The only reason
to children.
Emphasize, and it's a stretch, a long stretch. is for shock value. YouTube was becoming very successful and popular in the early 2010s, and by the mid-2010s was huge. The network saw this huge shift in viewership, where the kids, instead of watching cartoons, were watching their favorite YouTubers play video games, or vlogging or what have you. I'm guessing maybe this was their attempt to catch people's eyes and be like, look at us. We have this crazy, wacky, over-exaggerated...
So you mean to tell me you think the reason they did poop humor is because they felt like YouTube was in competition with them? Are you serious right now? Nickelodeon, a multi-million, probably billion-dollar company, you think they was worried about YouTube back then? Like, do he not hear what he's saying right now? YouTube was not that important back then.
I know that's not a very good reason.
That's a horrible
reason. I'm scraping the bottom of the barrel. I can't think of any other reason why any executive...
This man really just said he think Nickelodeon was threatened by YouTube in 2010. Bro, YouTube was not cool back then, bro. YouTube was just not starting to become popular. You tripping.
A right mind would approve the poop humor. Not much has changed into the 2020s. The poop humor shows are definitely decreasing in quantity. However, they are just being replaced with reboots, spin-offs, and other licensed IPs. We're definitely in a reboot era right now. Everyone is doing it, and there aren't tons of unique new movies or shows. It only makes sense that Nickelodeon follows suit. Make sure you check out my other videos. I have quite a few about Nickelodeon and other cartoons. If you could please subscribe. I'm literally so close to 1,000 subscribers, and you hitting that button will help me greatly. Thank you for watching.
He should be at 1K now, I ain't gonna lie. Hey, shout out to Mug, man. W video, even though I didn't agree with some of the stuff he said, it was still a very, well put together video. So shout out to Mug. Y'all go subscribe. Get that man to 2,000 subs or something like that. But yeah, like I said, W video, I ain't gonna lie, it's all subjective, you feel me? How you feel about a show is how you feel about a show. Everybody not gonna like the same thing. But me personally, I feel like some of them shows was not that bad, bro. Like, I feel like most people just go by what they hear. Like, Fanboy and Chum Chum and Sanjay and Craig saying that was a bad show. I feel like that's just what people say, so that's what people repeat type stuff. But me personally, I like them shows, bro. But let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Did y'all like them shows, or was they horrible like people claim they were? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Other than that, stay tuned for more reactions. Let me know what y'all want to see me react to next. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. And other than that, it's your boy Kendall, and I'm gone.